Welcome to the County Business Club's podcast, hosted by Sam Thomas and powered by Picture Book Films.
Okay, welcome to the next episode of the County Business Talks podcast. So today's guest is MD of Identity, one of the UK's most successful event agencies. According to Forbes magazine, he's an entrepreneur of note and has featured in the Telegraph LDC Most Ambitious Leaders. International speaker, industry spokesperson, awards judge, Sunday Times Fast Track 100 ranked, C&IT Conference and Incentive Travel Awards A-lister. In October last year was presented with the Queen's Award for Enterprise in International Trade. For me, this guest, I guess, mate, really cultivates what the podcast really is all about, true entrepreneurship. Absolutely delighted to welcome good friend Michael Gietzen. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Sounds quite impressive when you read it out like that. I haven't had that done before. Thank you, Sam.
Mate, absolutely amazing. I mean, we've known each other for quite some time, and it's been incredible to obviously see the growth of Identity and obviously what's happened. But look, we're just going to jump straight in, mate, if we can, and let's just start telling people telling about your business journey and where it all started.
How far do you want me to go back?
Mate, from the beginning, go with it.
I think, business journey, I've been with Identity for 12 years, but I guess the lead up to that is kind of fell into it, really. I guess skipping forward from college, where I was kind of unsure. I actually had a place to read law at university. Okay. I'd done a few pupilages, wanted to be a barrister. Wanted to be a corporate barrister though, so already there was this kind of affinity that actually I like the idea of big business kind of stuff. And then just after doing history and the amount of reading that you have to do, and I like books but I am not a bookworm, and so I kind of thought maybe this isn't for me, all this level of reading. And so I thought, I'll go and I'd like to be a stockbroker, and that's kind of where my passion for numbers started. And I took some advice, and actually the qualifications that you need to get into stockbroking weren't that robust. You just had to be a good salesperson, get into it, but obviously be very academic around numbers. But someone said, go and get an accountancy qualification. From that, you can do so much, and then go into stockbroking. So that's what I did. Worked for a local firm called Watson's.
Yeah, I know the guys there. Yeah.
And got qualified, and during that process I had the benefit of working with lots of different business owners, and I'll come on to that probably in a bit, but at that time I still wanted to be a stockbroker. Qualified, came out qualified in the middle of the financial crash, and so they're making brokers redundant in Goldman Sachs and all this sort of stuff, and there's little old me in Eastbourne wanting to come up to the big smoke. No chance. So really had to reflect on what I wanted to do after that. And then as a result of working in accounting practice, you get to see lots of different businesses, and that was really my insight into SME hard grit work. And so when you're doing the audits, and so to be an audited company that I would come into, you have to be of a certain size anyway. One of the features of an audit is you have to go and interrogate the MD, have a little interview and have a chat, understand about the business. And I got to see some rubbish ones, some average ones, and some really inspirational local business people in that time. And I enjoyed that the most out of everything that I did. And Steve Moore, I guess a senior partner at Watson's, is a really good friend of mine now, but a mentor really that inspired me all the way through my early days at Identity, and now is a great support to me. But I said to him, I love this stuff, but actually I have a day job to do there, and I had to crunch the numbers and do all this sort of stuff, and I could tell I started to have a bit of an itch. And my dad was in the events industry, and that's what he grew up doing. He's owned a couple of businesses, and so I didn't realise that all my life I've been around an entrepreneur, a business owner, someone that's had to carry that pressure. And when I was 12, 13, 14, the ups and downs I would see my dad go through with my mum, I had no appreciation of what that actually meant.
Wow.
And then now I reflect on that and thinking, Christ, it must have been really difficult. And particularly in our sector, our sector is very volatile and very seasonal.
Yeah.
And typically at a small level, I guess, no offence, Dad, but at a smaller scale to what we were doing is it's quite hand to mouth. So you don't really know, whether it's going to be a great winter or not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so got into, so I came out and thought of Watson's, qualified, thinking I like to get into business. I really would like to get into business. I like to do something of my own. And so I was living with my parents at the time, early 20s, and I said to Mum and Dad, can I come and join you? And so he ran a events agency, I guess you could call it, but a project management company.
Yeah.
3 people at the time called Downland Exhibitions. And my mum said, no, absolutely not. Why would you throw away a wonderful qualification like accountancy and go into exhibitions?
Yeah.
I badgered them and that was it. I'd already doing the accounts to them and stuff, and so I came in and really that's where it started.
Yeah.
Dad retired a few years later. We rebranded to Identity and started to diversify then at that point. So Dad historically doing exhibition stands, and we thought, well, there's more to this industry and really widened it. And then we've kind of been on a huge journey really in that time.
Wow. That's interesting then to know that you've, because I always talk to people about it and sort of say, oh, where does it come from? So my mum and dad didn't, they were really hard workers, but not entrepreneurial at all. They run their own business. I've still struggled to think, where did this come from for me? I've probably watched too much Only Fools and Horses when I was younger, maybe. But it's really interesting because a lot of people I've had on, they said that from maybe, so for you specifically, probably you're saying that you didn't have that desire maybe at a young age to run your own business. It was not until you got into it and with the accountant side of it, speaking to people, finding out, okay, this is maybe something I could.
Definitely, I think when you're asked at school, what do you want to be when you grow up, is such an alien concept, really.
Yeah.
And I think particularly now millennials and the next gen as well that's coming through, it's a really difficult thing to. Well, they won't put their finger on it.
No,
but I think, never did I think about being a managing director. Well, of an agency, but of a company.
Yeah, sure.
And even when you're around your peers at school, you don't really hear saying, I want to grow up and be a managing director. Funny listening to James's one last time round, are we just the unemployables? And I think my family would absolutely be nodding at this point, thinking, and my wife, you absolutely couldn't work for somebody else, Michael. But maybe that's a trait that you develop over time as you be the leader of a business. But
I'm sure, it's strange, isn't it? Because you do think now. I remember similar, I suppose, time scale. I've been running my own business for over 12 years or so. You do sort of look at if I did stop them all now, what would I? Look, I've always said to myself, always said to my wife, if you have to provide for my kids, I'd go and do anything. Of course, we all would, I'm sure. But like to think, I think I'd struggle to go and just go and work for someone. You'd go, come up with another idea, or do this, or I'll try that. I don't know. It's interesting. So your dad then, like, it was his company that then you sort of taken over and then obviously developed into sort of Identity. So, but it's interesting to know that from like you said, not the appreciation when you was younger, knowing that he was running his own business, but knowing that you'd been around that has probably subconsciously held you in good stead, potentially.
I mean, it's humbling, and I think it's. Dad's been a great ally of, and a confidant for me throughout the years.
Sure.
I mean, he's worked in the events industry for 40 years. He knows it inside out. But it's a very different beast, now, and joining a team of 3 to, now really, I've got over 300 staff.
Wow.
And so it's quite the different journey, and I have to look to other people for understanding and guidance and support at this scale now.
Yeah, of course. So I want to talk about, obviously, we've gone through the list at the start of the intro, and we've talked about numerous awards, obviously including the Queen's Award last year. What would you say, since 2009, what's been your greatest achievement, would you say?
There's many moments that I sit back and reflect on that are proud moments. I think just being able to find the balance and the time and be with the family is a real proud achievement. Finding that ability, and that's kind of where I feel I am now, but it's not been without its graft. I think if I was to reflect, I think where the business is right now is one of my proudest moments. I feel like I have achieved what I set out to do, and it's a great time to be MD at Identity. There's opportunity for us that we kind of never visioned or never thought of, and we're really looking forward to the next chapter in what we're doing. But I guess there's been stepping stones throughout. So we did a big commitment back in 2018. We invested significantly back in the business, took a lot of risks. The bank were very supportive. Let's Do Business were very supportive, and then Locate East Sussex were doing a funding scheme. So we put £500,000 back into the business, and we were turning over a couple of £1 million at this time. So we this was big. And I remember talking to my family and our directors at the time saying, look, we can do this. We've got something great here, but if we just plod along, it will take us forever to get where we want to get to. Let's double down. Let's accelerate this. Believe in what we did, and they did believe me, and we headhunted a fantastic addition to the business, Janet Dodd. Janet Dodd became a board level director with us, very influential within the government space. We also then ability to take on a lot more headcount with this. So we use this £500,000 to fund new designers, new project managers, bigger premises, all the IT infrastructure that we did, and we never looked back because we were able to secure some really big contracts. Then next came the next proud bit was we delivered the NATO summit in 2019, 1 year after we had doubled down on this investment. And saw that we looked after some 40 world leaders, including Donald Trump at the time at the Grove in London, and it really put us on the map. It was a belief that we knew that and this time we were continuing to employ and attract great talent, people that had worked on the Olympics, that had done Commonwealth Games and other NATO summits or G20s and G7s. But we have absolutely a world-class team. And then I guess we've just come off the back of delivering the G7 summit down in Cornwall. And so really it's the only live event that is being managed in the UK, and Identity were in a privileged position to do it. And not only did we do it, we aced it. And it was a great, spectacular, and delivered a great event. And so I guess that is one of my proudest moments at the time.
A couple of things here. So when you started, like you obviously started with Dan, you like rebrand as Identity, and did you back then? Did you have a vision for it to be what it is now? Back then? Did you go, I'm going to make this a massive agency within one of the biggest agencies in the UK? I'm going to take it global. I'm going to do this. Was that your vision back then, or did you go, I want to grow this and see how it goes?
Good question. I'm trying to think back, but so I joined Identity Downland at the time, the financial crash. So it was absolute survival mode, and that was one of the things that inspired me to go and join Dad. Look, you've got a good thing here. Let's ride this storm. So we developed a signage company at that time, which was fairly big. It's probably one of the biggest in Sussex at the time, because we needed to bring this skill set in-house, and if exhibitions weren't happening, because it's the one thing that gets cold when a financial crisis is on, you go down your P&L and cut events out of your marketing spend. And so when we weren't doing graphics for the exhibition stands, we could go and do shop front signage and all this sort of stuff. Got it up to £2 million, within a couple of years of doing it, and that's because we could pull together the right people to deliver it, and we weren't afraid to go on to do some really big projects at that time. But I always wanted to be in events, It was
Yeah,
very attractive.
Yeah.
There's a bit more of a buzz about it. The short-term nature of it, the deadline of it is all very, very exciting. I might regret that now, but
But I suppose when you deliver it, like the buzz of the delivering an event, especially on the type of scale that you guys do, when you finish, that event finishes, that sense of wow.
Yeah.
Just, especially like you say, when you smash it out of the park, like with the
we call it the stand out. We call it the stand back moment. So you stand back at the end of it with your arms crossed and go, "We just did that."
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a great feeling,
must
and
be,
particularly now to see so many of them televised.
Yeah,
It's great. But so we came in and we said we wanted to get into events, and actually, now you make me think about it, the ambition was very high then. Yeah, very high.
Yeah, okay.
And we are disruptors in our industry. Never before. We're probably the largest independently owned events agency in the UK. And yeah, we are changing the way things are done in the sector.
Right, that's incredible. And I tell you what, the other part to that question, what I find quite interesting is that you qualified as an accountant, and I guess I guess I'm just assuming, but you look at accountants generally as being quite risk averse, and then you've gone, well, I'm not going to be an accountant, I'm going to run my own business and I'm going to do this. So you've obviously the complete opposite to that, especially when you talk about 2018, going, we're going to put £500,000 back into the business. That's quite a risky thing to do. How do you where is it down to the fact of just self-belief and believing in yourself that you go, you know what, I know that I've got a great team around me, I know what my vision is, and I know I can achieve it, and just believe that wholeheartedly, and that's what you know is going to get you there?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's why I'm not an accountant. Which
yeah. Well, yeah, this ain't for me.
I think I think you have to. I think you absolutely have to believe in yourself, and if you wobble, then people won't follow you.
Yeah.
And you've got to have strong leadership in this. But yeah, I firmly believe in what we do and how we do it, and always from a young age, I've enjoyed leadership roles.
Yeah.
I'd get into a team and often lead the team, but creativity, which I did not appreciate. So I like numbers, always have liked numbers, but I didn't realise I was a closet creative, and it's something that's really come out of me over the years of doing, being in events. But actually, identity, we talk about creative all the time. We've got design things and create things, but creativity is about problem solving. Creativity is about coming up with a solution to something, and I relish that, and didn't realise I'd done that all my life. Very quick to solve problems, and I think that is that's part of it, is that I enjoy the mechanics of running a business.
Let's move on to the next one, because I wanted to talk. Obviously, look, we've talked about the growth and the success, brilliant, and the amount of achievements. Businesses have ups and downs. Tell me about some. Has there been the downs during identity? Maybe some failures, some things that you have gone into that kind of shouldn't have done that. That's not worked out. Talk to me about that, and especially, I guess, the main thing: running an events company. 18 months ago, a global pandemic hits where we can't do any events. What's your mindset then? How does that look?
Ups and downs, highs and lows. I mean, where do I start? I mean, I'd love to do it all over again, and I could do it in half the time. I think the recruitment, everyone will talk about, and I hopefully we'll come on to it a bit later, just about people and culture and how important it is. And so surrounding yourself by talented people is essential in any business, and therefore, if they're not talented, you need to get rid of them quickly. And I think many of are going through it. I was too slow and too hesitant to react to poor performance or people that didn't align with the culture as the business grew. And you second chances and third chances, because I like to think I'm a nice bloke. And and actually what you're doing is really detrimentally affecting the business, the culture, and so on. If someone isn't performing in their role or isn't, or a mood hoover, as I like to call them. But
I love that phrase. I love that, mate.
And so I think that's something I've learned, and as a result, it's brought about some highs and lows always around people. But I can hand on heart now say I've got the most amazing team, and that actually is something I wake up every morning and think, I've got such a quality team around me, and that's taken 12 years to refine that. I think, and then really just winning and losing that in agency land where I live, you live and die by the quality of a pitch and presentation, and there are very few retained accounts that you get in the world of events. They run from project to project, and so we burn the midnight oil. We feel like we're creating the next greatest thing to fit the client's brief, and you pitch it and it just doesn't quite connect or land, or you pitch it and you think you've absolutely nailed it, and then you don't win, or and that's terrible. When you do win, the euphoria is amazing. There's nothing better than a pitch win. And so I love that. And really, I think then lows, right? So talk about an annus horribilis, right, for identity, really. And we were absolutely flying February 2020. Everything we touched was almost turning to gold. We'd got new grand plans of office in London. We had a fantastic order book, great pipeline in place. We were a couple of years into this momentum of investing back into the business and stuff, and we absolutely had traction. And then we were pitching at this time for the climate change conference, massive conference, and we were kind of oblivious to this contract. Sorry, we were kind of oblivious to what was going on around the world. We heard about this virus that was going on over in China. Then March, all the jobs started cancelling, and we had just finished pitching this large project, and I was able to come up from the parapet and looking around and thinking, well, we're in a bit of trouble here. And then we lost several £1 million worth of pipeline work overnight, and then it all went. And then I knew this would be serious, because we were thinking, all right, well, summer. I think everyone was like June, July.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not going to be long.
August, September. We won't be long, and historically it's quiet for us in the summer anyway.
Yeah.
And then when they started putting hospitals into all the national exhibition centres in the UK, you're thinking, well, we haven't got venues now. This is not coming back anytime soon, and it didn't. And so we went from turning over several £1 million a month, and in March and April, I think it was 50 quid and 70 quid. That was it.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, we're in a bit of trouble here. However, we were fortunate enough in 2019 that we could see the ascendancy of digital technology in our sector, and so we'd invested in a new digital department. We had headhunted some great digital guys from some of the major players in London, and in February of 2020, one of our clients, the Royal Navy, was hosting an event for recruitment, and we had to cancel it because of Storm Dennis. Wasn't acceptable for them. They'd got a big campaign getting to it, outside of our control, but just not acceptable. So we went back as a team and said, right, what are we going to do about this? And we scratched our heads, and we came up with 2 words in February. One was pivot, and the second was virtual event. And so little did we know how important that would be for the future of identity in the next 18 months. And so in February, we delivered a virtual event. In March, we went on to deliver a half a dozen of them, still not really knowing what's going on. And so April and May, we came out the starting blocks and smashed it. Compared to any agency that was near us, as we had already had a year progress into this. So we were working with, or consulting into Panasonic, I think Cisco, Microsoft, even Apple, other major players in this area about virtual events. Now, it didn't really materialise for much, because virtual events just are no replacement to events. And we are absolutely mass participation, large-scale events agency. But it's garnered great relationships. We're still an agency of trust and choice. And then we've gone on to win this climate change conference that I spoke about, which is the United Nations COP26, which will be the world's largest hybrid event ever, and run by us. And so, yeah, I mean, we've come out the other side, and yeah, I mean, we've gone from tripled in size over the last 18 months, really.
What an incredible story. Like you say, the events industry as a whole, you sort of look at what hospitality has been affected, events, you look at them and go, those industries, God, it's tough. Sitting here talking to someone like yourself who's gone, we've tripled in size in an event, that's phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. I think like the whole virtual event side of stuff, I guess, like embracing that and just getting other people to embrace it as well, because like you said, most people are like, how does that, it's never going to replace a live event. But if you created something that can, it's the next best thing. This is the only option we've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess that's the thing, you've got to get out. This is the only option we've got, but we can deliver it to a high level and do what we do. And
events people are incredibly agile and incredibly resilient.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if there's ever an opportunity for me to publicly thank the team, you know, looking back in April, we had to restructure. We went through a round of redundancies. We didn't know what was coming around. But as a team, we rallied together, and my team have never worked so hard. Really? You know, in a period of growth, you know, and loads of uncertainty around us, we absolutely doubled down as a bunch of individuals, and particularly with my senior management team as well, is, right, guys, you know, what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to get through this? And we strategically went through, we targeted events that were COVID-proof, that didn't need audiences, you know, G7 being one of them. You know, there's diplomatic dispensation for travel. We the climate change one that I mentioned. We also worked with the government on a series of COVID operations and campaigns, and so we were very clever about how we would tackle this year, and it all kind of came true.
Yeah, amazing. And so as as a team, we're obviously going to come on to that, I guess, culture, but as a leader, I guess at that time for you, like you had to that mindset there. Obviously, you know, you've got a big agency turning over a lot of money to go. Was there points that, hey, blimey, this is a real struggle. But then, because of culture that we'll go on to, the people around you, you get everyone in, and they've all bought into that, the culture you've actually created. And as a leader, then you've got to go, we are going to get through this, and this is how we're going to do it, and everyone buys into it. I mean, it leads us on nicely, actually, because that's the next thing, is just talking about the culture that you've obviously created there, Identity, to grow from, and how do you achieve that from growing from 3-4 people to 300 and creating that ethos and culture throughout the company? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I've always put people first in what I do. I've always felt like I've got a good measure on what makes people tick and what excites them. It's what makes me a good salesperson, I guess. You know, being able to understand what people would buy into, and so. Yeah, being a salesperson, I'd like to, you know, feel that I can sell it to them. But really, it's confidence building, in instilling confidence into other people that they can do it and we can do it and achieve it. And I think, right. Well, the other benefit that I've had, because I've learned on the go, really, on the fly. Sure. Values, culture. You know, I never did any formal training in any of this. But what was interesting is, for many of our clients, we were doing things, internal conferences for them. Hastings Direct was a great client for us, as we were doing a lot of their internal comms strategy for them, or implementing it for them. And that's really that they taught me a lot about, you know, company values, and we created our own very early on. And I think in my second year, they're called the track values, which are teamwork, responsibility, ambitious, creative, and caring. And 10 years on, they're still relevant and alive. I think that was very, very important. You know, teamwork in our sector is so important that you know, we're a group of people coming together to achieve a goal. Responsibility. You need 4 HDMI cables on a job, and you only you don't bother to count them in, and there's 3. Well, when you're in Germany and it's a Sunday and it's 11 o'clock at night and you need 4 HDMI cables and somebody in the team has only packed 3, the knock-on effect is huge. And that could be the screen that Boris Johnson is about to get on and talk about a trade deal for Brexit, and and so actually the ramifications are huge just from that one person not bothering to count the HDMI cables. Ambitious has always been something for me with the team, as well as joining a business that is growing fast. You're forever on the back foot, and so you have to sign up to wanting to be part of something that is going places, and realise that it's going to be a bit lumpy, it's going to be a bit bumpy, but that's what we want. We want to keep growing.
And do you? Let me just interject quickly there. Do you, like you said, you like to fit a good, obviously, general character, which clearly you are because you've grown in that sense. But is it something? Do you identify quite quickly then? Like someone comes in and maybe the interview come across okay, but they come in and they just don't. That they're not fit. Like, so I listened to something. It talked about. I listened to Rio Ferdinand talk on one of the high performance ones, and he talked about the culture at Man United, and they just would be like sitting in the dressing room. They just won the League Cup, for example. They come in, and one of the players, I can't remember who it was he was talking about. One of the players coming, and he was, come on, we've won the cup, blah blah blah. And Rio was like, we've got Champions League on Wednesday. This is nothing. They literally, it was that tight, and he said he's not going to fit in here. He's not going to be part because he didn't buy, and he didn't. He wasn't there the following season. Didn't buy into that culture. Is that something then? Like, obviously, you've got. I find it brilliant that you've got those 5 points, and that's your core values, and that's what everyone buys into over the course of the thing. Anyone that doesn't fit into one of those things are probably not right for
all of those things.
All of those
things, definitely. I think that's what's important.
You've got to buy into every part of that.
Multifaceted, and that's what I was alluding to earlier on. I think my generosity in my earlier years would have been to extend that goodwill to somebody that didn't fit that shape and that mould. Also, because a lot of the time I was starstruck. A lot of the people I was headhunting, you've got to bear in mind I was probably 28, 29 at the time. I'm employing people that are 50 years old, have got 25, 30 years experience in the events industry, been doing bits and bobs that I could only dream of at this stage. But actually, if you don't fit the identity way, then this isn't for you. And this is what I was saying, and they might not be wanting to enjoy an ambitious company. Or as ambitious as we wanted it to be.
Yeah, sure. That's fascinating. It really is.
I think, and COVID was the litmus test of good culture.
Yeah.
All of a sudden when we broke and people were working from home, video was the choice of communication. I think that is one of my proudest moments where we stood up. So I shed a tear in front of 150 staff when we closed the office and all this sort of stuff. It was very emotional for me because, something I've been working tirelessly for 10 years, got it just, it's like I was training for the Olympics and all of a sudden, they
just about to go and get the goal.
Oh my God. So we shut the office, we talked about salary cuts, all this sort of stuff. And, I was thinking to myself, what can I do in this time? And so Amelia went to almost daily videos for the team. So I was a daily update from the MD, and I would film something, cascade it around, and it was an insight into what the business was doing, but also how I was personally coping with homeschooling with 2 kids under 5 at the time, trying to get us out of this, trying not to lose as many staff as we possibly could, try and retain clients that we'd worked so bloody hard to get but didn't have that relationship with them. And so the daily update was then thrown in with a lot of social activities. So we set up a wine tasting club, we did quizzes like everybody did, but I mean we were consistent and we were on it and we did it well, and I'm so proud of how we try to maintain the culture that we had throughout this period. And we had a management away day yesterday, and I'm feeling a little bit fragile today. But actually, it's in the latest staff survey coming out of that away day was people feel proud to be working at Identity. They love the peers that they work around, and they're excited by the future. of the business.
That's
So actually
amazing.
to maintain that still is great.
Through that period, and like you said, especially being obviously a people person as you are, you like being, and everyone within the events industry, like you say, they're generally around people because you have to be dealing with stuff. Then to obviously have that taken away, everything's behind a screen and stuff. But do you, what I find fascinating about that is the fact that you're saying about crying in front of staff, showing vulnerability, being open and honest. One of the things I want to achieve in a podcast is I'm grateful for you being as open and honest about that. But to get that to the staff as well, because obviously see you as, you know, you're the MD, founder, etc., then it just reaching out to them and then being able to see that he's in the same boat as us. He's at home, we're homeschooling. He's an MD, because I think people's perception sometimes as staff, their perception is, oh well, you're the MD, so you've.
How's your ivory tower? Yeah,
exactly that. And I think by it sounds, and obviously listening to you talk about it, that look, I'm in this with you exactly the same. We're all in this together in that sort of sense.
Oh, bloody was.
Exactly.
My house is on the line at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And
like, well, you've got more to lose than they potentially lose a job, which is, you know, but eventually but you could lose something you've built up, like you say, over 10 years, blood, sweat, and tears, everything else that's gone into that. To go, hang on a minute, is this just gonna?
Yeah, definitely. I think only my team can speak for themselves, but I think we showed a lot of humility, a lot of compassion at that difficult stage for everybody, because there was so much uncertainty in the country, and we tried on a case-by-case individual basis attend to the needs of all of the staff in that time, because it's all that we could do. And I really do. I have no regrets about how we managed the pandemic with our team. Could we have done it better? Yeah, definitely. But I have no regrets.
But I don't think there's same as being a parent. There's no playbook, is there? You do what you do. How do you, as a business owner, go, you know what I'm going to put in that strategy is how I plan for when that global pandemic might happen in a couple of years. I'm going to put some planning in place. None of us knew. Everyone was getting up every day going, just need to get through this somehow, and we'll work on a day-by-day basis, like you say, and just try and get through. And I think, but what's key, and what the messages I'm getting, obviously, from the culture side of it, is that you've from going from however many you have up to sort of 300, like you say, but just having those core values is so important, I guess, from any business owner, and knowing that people have got to buy into. And I always, because I'm obviously a football fan, I always use the football analogy and stuff like that, but creating that culture within, I think it's the same in that dressing room. Like I said, I listened to the Rio Ferdinands and the United culture or whatever it is, but it's such an important thing. You believe in those values and everyone buys into that, all aspects of it, that's where you're going to go. You're always going to grow and be stronger and get through. And when you do have the lows, because the highs are great, but when you do have the lows, you all knuckle down, roll your sleeves up and get into it. But you only get that if you hadn't created that. People go, I'm off, like, you know what I mean, I'm working from home, there's no trust there, because they just do what they're going to do, and it's a difficult thing, isn't it?
You mentioned a great word, so it wouldn't fresh off the management away day with my wider leadership team. Our values are going to change this year.
Wow, okay.
And when you have a big team and a big mass that you need to move about, and so Identity works at nearly 150 employed staff, and at any one time we've got permalancers that are on 6 to 12-month contracts with us, which provide us with our other 150. By the end of the year, we'll probably have some 400 people working in the business. And what we want to manage through our culture is behaviours. And instill the right behaviours of working out Identity. And so this is one of the evolutions, and I continue to learn. And we want to look at things like trust, integrity, and stuff like this, and that responsibility, that element. What are the lead-in behaviours that you need in order to achieve and stuff? And so it's great for me, and I couldn't be more excited and more motivated now running a business of this size than I ever have. It's a great game to play.
It's amazing. So look, you can hear it in your voice. You can see. I'm sitting there looking. You can see that passion and that. And it's inspiring. And that's why I knew. I was so excited when you messaged me and said about I'm happy to come on, have a chat. I was like, it's going to be great. And I knew it would be. And 'cause people out there listening, because from SMEs and stuff that a lot of our readership, a lot of listeners, and a lot of people we talk to me, knowing maybe have that vision or that passion that they want to try and get to potentially where you are. And speaking to someone like you and talking about that journey and how you have achieved it and them core values that you're doing, it is so inspiring to listen to you talk about it. I think one thing again for me, running business long hours, we talked earlier, you tapped on about work-life balance, spending time with your family, where you're in a good place of where you are. But as a family man with young kids, as similar to I am, how do you're running a business with 400 staff, global entity? How do you manage that? How do you manage a work-life balance between that? You don't.
I think you aspire to it. I think so. There isn't.
Is there such thing as that?
No, and I think I think people strive for the impossible if entrepreneurs or business owners talk about how great work-life balance, is. It's an ecosystem of which I live in, and you have to just try and manage that ecosystem in whatever way you can. And my wife will probably listen to this, and she is once again would be the only person that could comment on it. But I haven't been around there in the early years. Very quickly into our early relationship together, I would travel a lot. And when I wasn't travelling, I'd be sat at the dining room table once I got home from the office, planning the next day, and getting ready for a pitch, do that sort of stuff. And I think I like to think that she believed in me at that stage. And then as you have children, it was probably still similar. Going back, I think to 2018 when I decided to double down and took a risk. I had one child at that point. And Antonio was very worried and very concerned about, is this the right thing? Can you take your foot off the gas, please? And I said, I can't take my foot off the gas because I'm halfway up the hill, and if I don't keep accelerating, the car's going to roll back down, and all my hard work that I've got to get here is going to go. We've got momentum, we're building on it. And so I said to her, look, give me a couple more years, and I promise this is it. And that's kind of what I did. But then I love my children too much that actually they're such a persuader. And then life passes you by, and now I've got two, and I think I spend as much time. And I was talking about that ecosystem. I think sorry to all employees, but as the business owner, you do have flexibility in your working hours and what you do, and that's something I realised very, very quickly. And so it's okay to work in the evening, but if I've spent several hours doing X and Y, and even when my first one was born, I never missed a bath time.
Amazing.
So whether I could get back, sometimes I was in the middle of a pitch and that was it. But if I was there, I was at home doing the bath time, and if I was travelling, I was on FaceTime making sure I was there. And it's such a wonderful thing because my dad didn't get to do that when he was travelling. He's told me some great stories about having to go to payphones and us not being in, or mum not answering it because she's got 3 kids to look after. But now as well, something I've learned, the pandemic has enabled a lot of people to reflect, but it was probably, the pandemic and over the last couple of years is that, work smart, not hard. And I think that's one of the lessons that I learned over the last decade was I'll just work my nuts off. But actually I could have been a lot smarter in what I was doing, and hindsight being a wonderful thing. So now I get to do that. I'm very discerning about what I'm working on, why am I working on it, which enables me to be with the family more. And what's it all for? What am I doing if I'm not spending it with my family and friends? And so I think that is a very important thing. And I think anyone should listen to this, because I think the pandemics saw a lot of death and a lot of change and illness and vulnerability of people. It makes you realise, what am I chasing here?
That's really so. For me, then looking at that, so is there something in you, or is there still something where you look at, because this is something for me personally I've looked at over, I was always, people talk to me about, why run you over, I'll get there one day, I'll get there. what I lost sight of a while back was what is there? What am I actually trying to achieve?
100%.
Where's that this is destination? I'm trying to get to somewhere that I'm going to get there. When I make my first million, that's going to be my destination. Is it? Maybe not. When I get this, when I've got this big house, whatever. Then what is this destination? And then by looking at that, you miss out on then the journey. And what I learned probably a couple of years ago, really sort of turning 40 was a big thing for me. Like turning 40, I got to a point when I was like, actually got a bit down on myself. Like someone who's ultimately, people will know me as quite a bubbly person, positive, smiling most of the time, blah, blah, blah. I got to a point where I was a bit like, I haven't achieved anything. What have I done? I'm really self-doubt and all these things kicked in. I'm like, I'm really unsuccessful. I've not done anything. And then you look back on what levels of success, because you go, is success just based on your bank balance? And if it is, then what is actually life all about? And I've read a really interesting book. I listened to a really interesting book called Happy Sexy Millionaire by a guy called Stephen Bartlett. He does a great podcast as well. I listened to it, and he was saying like at 25, like he sold Social Chain for 200 million or something. But he said at that point I wasn't happy. He said, and what I was like, what is the purpose? What have I done this for? I've got all this money in the bank and I've got a lovely car and a big thing, but I'm not happy. I hadn't achieved. So you go, and for me, kids is obviously a huge leveler. When you have, it changed my world completely, as it does with everyone. But just to the point where that's a real purpose. I'm probably more ambitious now than I ever have been, but for different things. And it's not that I'm still not on that thing as potentially you are. That goal, what you want to try and achieve. I don't think there's a destination that I'm trying to get to anymore. I'm trying to go, I just want to enjoy this journey. I'm on a path, I'm okay, we're doing all right, and I'm on that thing. But tell me about, like, what for you, like, you've like, hugely successful businessman, done amazing achievements and you got to this stage, and even the growth over the last 18 months, especially within that thing. When did it? And I guess I probably know.
When do you stop?
Yeah, because I potentially know the answer to it, in the sense that because I can tell that passion in you. You love doing what you're doing. So, and there's nothing wrong with it. I've achieved this whatever turnover, and I've got to this stage. That's numbers, like you said. But do you think you'll ever get to a point where you go, I'm going to take that back seat now? Or
it's so bizarre. I don't know whether it's a male thing as well. and just. 4 years to go till I'm 40, and that number is so apparent in my mind, thinking, oh God, 40's coming round, and have I done everything I wanted to do? So aren't men stupid, right? So, but I think also the getting to £100 million turnover, the centurion we used to call it in the team, and ticking that box, and you're thinking, well, I never thought I'd do that anyway. Yeah. Now I've done it. It's so what's next?
Yeah.
I started off, my ambition in 2018 was to turn over 20 million quid, and I thought that was great. So where do you stop? I think I've spoken to my family, and it's about ticking off the things that we want, and that's about, do I want to send our children to private school? Do we want this house here? Do we want this? Do we want that? What is on our happiness? And I'm probably not far away from that. And I think then it's about being super discerning in what I do, because, like my wife said, I'll never stop being a businessman and being an entrepreneur, and I enjoy that. But it's a different game of risk I play now. I often in the boardroom talk about the analogy of moving the pieces around, and it's stop doing it when it's not fun anymore. I think that'll be how I see things.
Yeah, okay. That's amazing, mate.
A bit like gambling, eh?
A bit like gambling.
Stop it when the fun stops.
That's it. Yeah, and I guess that's it. Like I guess just alluding to that exactly. It's look, if you don't enjoy that journey, why are we on it? Like, get off it. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you don't enjoy. And like I said, I actually, what for me, I just accepted a couple of years ago. Gee, this is who I am. Like spinning plates, having a couple of businesses going on, wearing a few different hats, but doing what I do. I've just gone. That's who I am, and that's what actually makes me tick and makes me happy. So once you, I guess, then you get to that point in life where you go, I'm quite content with who I am as an individual. You still got that ambition. I've still got that stuff. I'm still trying.
Can't cage the animal.
You can't. Yeah, you just can't. I think, and like you said, even when say you get to a point, identity, whatever the plan are, and you go, well, I'll step down as MD, or I'll move sideways, or I'll sell, or whatever them options are, and then ultimately, because of how your brain works and because of what you achieve, would you stop there? Would you go, like you said, you just play a different game? I might invest in that, or I might do this, or I might. So, which leads on actually quite nicely to the next one, which is what does the future hold for Michael Gietzen and identity as well, and the identity team?
Yeah, I mean we're not finished, you know. With success and opportunities breeds more opportunities, and new opportunities for us, and so we've very much established ourselves as an events agency in the UK, regarded as one of the major players. So our focus at the moment is maintaining that, and maintaining the market share, and then of course looking internationally for us. The team are very keen to open up an American office, probably both sides, and so I don't mind volunteering, setting up the LA office at all.
I'll happily come out and help you if you need a little bit of help.
And New York. So and in actually, even as close to home as thinking about Paris or something like that. So it's not now, but yeah, the opportunity for global expansion is quite exciting for us. But then also we have bucket list projects that we want to work on, and so the elusive Davos World Economic Forum for us is a project that we really want to work on.
Is that something that you like? Something you personally, or something as a team that you go, that's the big one. That's what we want to get.
Yeah. So event people are two things. They are masochistic, and they also like working on the big gigs. Yeah. And so there are only a handful of big gigs that we work on, and so we've already delivered the G7. We've already delivered the NATO summit. Yeah. As I mentioned, there's World Economic Forum, but then there are also some other large private client projects. Like there's the Adobe summits and stuff like this. So, and Cisco Live. So there are a few of the projects in our sector that, yeah, we are just hoping that we get to tick off. And for me, I mean, it's just one step at a time. This is my absolute focus, at the moment, and then see what comes of that.
Yeah, nice. And I suppose looking at it like that, and from a personal point of view, and you go, look, I will just take, because if you take each day as it comes, and you do look at each step as that thing, you get to enjoy the journey a bit more, because I guess you're present rather than going, that's my destiny. I'm always trying to get to somewhere. You don't. That's why I struggle with it. But I was always trying to get somewhere, and then go, let's enjoy that period of time and be present in them moments, because then that ultimately you're enjoying that journey. I guess that's.
Yeah, I mean, if you stop, you start going backwards, right? So I think you've always got to be striving forward, innovating, developing. So that's enough to keep you on my toes, anyway.
Yeah, of course. Brilliant, mate. Well, we're rounding up now. We're just going to finish off as we always do, just a couple of quick fire questions. So first one would be, what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur or someone wanting to start their own business?
So many things, right? But I think the act fast with your decision making. You know, believe in what you're doing, believe in what you're saying, and act fast when you're doing it. I think for me as well is do everything to a really high standard. You know, don't accept anything but excellence, and do it yourself. You know, no one's going to do it for you. No one is going to do it for you. And people talk about the fact that surround yourself by brilliant people. I built my business on doing that, but so's everybody else. That's what we all do. I'm not an expert of everything, you know, but you expect high standards from everybody in what you're doing, and that you do everything what you are doing, you have to go and do it yourself. And
lead by example.
Exactly, and often salespeople are the worst, right? So they're talking to me about, I got this great new opportunity. I was like, okay, so what are you doing about it? What are you gonna get in and get stuck in? Go and research it. All do that. It's no one else is gonna do it for you. So that's my advice to them.
Amazing. Love that. Okay, and final one. We'll just round off with. Give me 3 traits that you think a business person needs to be an entrepreneur or a good business person.
Yeah, humility definitely be one. I think that's really, really important. Resilience. And tenacity. I was going to use another word, but big pair of balls. Bravery.
Absolute, mate. Brilliant. I love that, mate. What a great way to finish. Look, I know how busy you are. I'm so grateful that you managed to take the time out to come on and speak with me. Look, it's so inspiring, and to listen to you passionately, like I said, it's amazing. So I'm really grateful, and what a great episode. I'm sure all the listeners are going to absolutely love it. So
even with a soft hangover,
mate, awesome. Oh, mate, it was great. Listen, thanks again for your time. Brilliant.
Cheers,
I really enjoyed it.
Thank
you, mate.